Journal entry number 9. I'm so tired, I want to disappear. Some days, I do not want advice. I do not want another plan. I do not want someone to tell me to be strong. I just want everything to stop asking something from me. The messages, the work, the people waiting for an answer, the things I promised I would finish. Even the small things can feel heavy. A reply, a choice, a simple task. And when too many things gather at once, a thought can appear. I want to disappear. That sentence can sound frightening. Sometimes it frightens me too. But I've started to wonder if it does not always mean that I want life to end. Sometimes it means I want the pressure to stop. I want to rest without feeling guilty. I want 1 hour where no one needs anything from me. I want to stop acting as though I'm fine. Maybe I do not want to disappear. Maybe I want the weight to disappear. There is a word for this kind of tiredness. Burnout. It is more than needing one good night of sleep. It is what can happen when stress stays too long, when we keep going after we have already begun to feel empty, when we keep saying yes because saying no feels selfish, when we keep trying to meet every need, finish every task, and avoid letting anyone down. At first, we may still look normal. We go to work, we answer people, we smile when we need to. We do what must be done. But inside, something starts to go quiet. The work that once mattered begins to feel far away. Small problems feel larger. Things we used to enjoy begin to feel like more work. And rest no longer feels like rest. I know this feeling. I sit down, but I do not feel calm. I lie down, but my mind does not stop. I try to rest, but I keep thinking about what I should be doing. The body is tired. The mind is still standing. Even when I do nothing, I feel behind. That may be one of the hardest parts of burnout. Rest comes with guilt. Work comes with dread. And there seems to be no place where the mind can fully settle. I used to think tiredness had to be earned, that I was only allowed to feel tired after doing enough. If I had not finished the work, then I had no right to rest. If other people were doing more, then my own tiredness did not count. If I chose these goals, then I should not complain about the weight of them. But the body does not always wait for permission. The mind does not stop hurting just because someone else is carrying more. Pain is not a contest. Tiredness is not a weakness. And being grateful for my life does not mean I can never feel worn down by it. Sometimes burnout grows slowly. It may begin with a few late nights, a few tasks moved to tomorrow, a few weeks of saying, I'll rest after this is done. But something is always next. One task ends, another begins. One problem is solved, another appears. Rest keeps moving further away. I tell myself I will stop after the deadline, after the meeting, after the project, after the next upload. But the finish line keeps moving. And after a while, I stop knowing what I'm waiting for. How do we know when we're tired and when we are burned out? I do not think there is always a clear line. Maybe it is when sleep does not feel like enough. Maybe it is when a simple task feels too large. Maybe it is when we start pulling away from people because talking feels like work. Maybe it is when we stop caring about things that used to matter to us. Maybe it is when the words, "I need a break," become, "I want to disappear." Not because we want to leave the world, because we do not know how else to leave the pressure. Burnout can make us blame ourselves. We call ourselves lazy, weak, unfocused, unkind. We ask why we cannot just get on with it. We try to push harder. We make stricter plans. We add more rules, wake up earlier, work longer, use every hour better. But sometimes the answer is not more force. Sometimes the answer is less. Less work, less noise, less need to please, less pretending. Maybe something has to become smaller before we can feel like ourselves again. That can be hard to accept, because we may have built our whole life around being useful. We become the person who can be counted on, the presence who mandates, the person who gives an answer, the person who carries one more thing. And when we can no longer do that, we may feel that we have lost part of who we are. But a person is more than what she can carry, more than what she can finish, more than how many people she can help before 6 apart. I am still a person when advice. I am still worthy when I cannot give more. I think burnout sometimes makes the whole life look wrong. When I am deeply tired, every problem feels permanent. Every delay feels like failure. Every unfinished task feels like proof that I'm not enough. The future looks closed. That tired minds can make final decisions about temporary pain. That is why I am trying to learn not to solve my whole life on my worst night. Some thoughts need sleep before they need answers. Some choices can wait until morning. Some tasks are still only tasks, even when they feel like judgment. What can we do when we feel this way? I do not think there is one perfect answer. Sometimes rest helps. Sometimes we need to ask for help. Sometimes we need to tell someone the truth. Sometimes we need to leave one task unfinished. Sometimes we need to step away from work that keeps taking more than we can give. And sometimes we need support that we cannot give ourselves. The hardest step may be admitting, I'm not coping as well as I look. There is fear in saying that. What if people think I am weak? What if they're disappointed? What if the work falls behind? But hiding the truth also has a cost. It makes us carry the pain alone. It keeps others from knowing how close we are to the edge. And it teaches us to keep acting as though everything is fine, even when we are breaking inside. Maybe honesty is not failure. Maybe it is the first sign that I still want to care for myself. I do not want this episode to end with a simple answer. Burnout does not leave because of one good sentence. A short break may help, but sometimes a short break is not enough. Sometimes the problem is not that we need to become stronger. Sometimes the way we are living has to change. A promise may need to be broken. A deadline may need to move. A role may need to become smaller. A person may need to hear no. A plan may need to wait. These things can feel painful, but so can continuing until there is nothing left. I am still learning how to stop before I reach that point. I am still learning that rest is not something I earn only after everything is done. Everything is never done. There will always be another task, another message, another reason to delay care. So perhaps rest cannot come at the end. Perhaps it has to become part of the way I live. Not a prize, not an escape, a need. When I say, I want to disappear, maybe I can pause and ask, what do I want to disappear from? The work? The noise? The need to be useful? The fear of letting people down? The pressure to keep going when I have nothing left? The answer may not fix everything, but it may help me see that I am not the thing that needs to disappear. Something around me may need to change. Something may need to stop. Something may need to wait. And if the feeling becomes darker, if I want to disappear begins to mean that I do not feel safe with myself, then I do not need to face that alone. I can tell someone. I can stay near another person. I can ask for help before I have the right words. I do not need to prove that the pain is serious enough. The fact that I am struggling is enough reason to reach out. Maybe I do not need to disappear. Maybe I need to stop. Maybe I need to rest. Maybe I need to let someone see that I am not okay. Maybe I need to make the world smaller for a while. 1 room, 1 hour, 1 next step. Not the whole future, just enough space to breathe. Being tired is not the same as being finished. Being burned out is not proof that I have failed. It may simply mean I have carried too much for too long. And perhaps the kindest thing I can do now is put something down. That's today's entry. I would like to leave you with one quiet question. What have you been carrying for too long? Until the next page, stay curious.